Welcome to the Jake Casteel Show, presented by United Bank. Proud to be united with the Pioneers. I'm your host, Sports Information Director Jagger Furr. Coach, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Coach, another commit has pledged to the Pioneers and signed in Kaishan Robinson out of Pennsylvania. Really intriguing signing. Can you talk a bit about, not just what Kaishan brings to the team, but kind of how this all unfolded for you guys?
He was actually a kid we were recruiting at West Virginia. Had a lot of offers early in his high school career, had an injury as a junior. Didn't get to play his whole junior year, moved to Florida to play his senior year. We started recruiting him right when I got here, and, he was still seeing what was out there for him and some Division I stuff, and we just kind of stayed on him, got him down here for a visit. He liked it. And, eventually it took him a while to sign, but now we got him signed, and we're excited about him. He's highly rated, which whatever that means, but he's a good player, and he's healthy now. He'll be ready to play, and we're excited to get him here.
And now another pair of practices done. You've been able to get a little bit more physical, especially here as late. What have you liked through the 2 days of practice this week?
Yeah, Monday was still thud, and then Wednesday we went live, and the first time we really tackled and, just played football the way it's supposed to be played. And some good, some bad, some ugly on both sides, which is a good thing. Both sides making some plays, and defensively there's always and on offense. The first time the ball security part, getting guys actually on the ground, finishing your tackles and running your feet, that all takes time, and there's an art to that, and you got to work it. So we're going to keep doing it, and we'll get another shot to do it on Saturday.
And we were talking last week. You also talked about how you were mixing in the groups, so there really wasn't a true ones and twos. How do you feel that's benefiting your team as you continue to move through the spring ball?
Well, I think for the coaches, it's good. I don't know how the players take it all the time, because everybody wants to start, everybody wants to be the guy. But it should keep them hungry. It keeps the competition alive, which if you're a good football player and you believe in yourself, you should want competition. And I think that pushes each individual position room, the team, because you can't come out there and take a day off and, okay, well, I'm that much better than this guy, I'm going to start. No, they got to show up every day, and we're trying to get that mentality into them, and as spring ball goes on, guys start to separate themselves, and we're starting to see that a little bit, but there's still a whole lot of work to do.
And when we were talking last week, it kind of made me think, you're watching offense, defense, one of them makes a big play or scores, or whatever happens. How is it deciphering your emotions of like, I like that, but what maybe went wrong on the other side of the ball? How is it deciphering your emotions when that stuff happens?
Yeah, that's hard. That's probably the most unique thing for me right now at practice, especially just being a position coach, my whole career thus far, or a GA, you're just worried about your position group or your side of the ball. And, now being as involved with the defense as I am, and, still got to cheer for the offense. Like on Wednesday, it wasn't a bad practice at all for the defense. We didn't finish well. And, I'm a little frustrated after that. And then you got to talk to the whole team. And I got to remember, well, if the offense is good, that's a good thing for everybody,
Yep.
So no, and I think those guys understand. I think the offensive guys laugh at me. And, they should probably be trying to make me mad because that means they had a pretty good day. But no, that's been an adjustment for me, actually. But no, it's been good. It's been good. And then, me and Coach Mullen get competitive anyways. It's always been like that. So we want to get the better of each other. And no, that is an adjustment, though.
And what are you thinking of the energy, the intensity of the practices? Are they what you're wanting? What are you thinking about it as you move through the first 6 practices?
Yeah, it's picked up as we went. Obviously when you start hitting and playing, it's easy for him to get going, and a guy makes a play or on offense, defense, it gets the whole practice going. And we've tried to start fast. Like we come right out of stretch and right into a team period, right into something competitive just to get the blood flowing. Like I tell them we shouldn't even need to warm up. Like you should come out there ready to go. But I think they've done a pretty good job. Like today we'll go helmets and a lot more fundamental focused. We call it Black Ops, the special teams, some focus on that, getting some work done there with the punt team and all that. But the energy's been good. The focus has been good. We just got to keep sustaining it through the whole practice. And I think we come out a little bit slow sometimes, and I'm trying to really beat that out of their brain with how we start practice, and that, okay, once the whistle blows, you got to roll.
And now you're working with the linebackers a lot. You're obviously seeing a lot of them. And one I wanted to talk about was Tyson Gary. He's a transfer from William & Mary, athletic, 6 foot, 200 pounds. Got to see him moving around in some live drills. He brings it, especially there on Wednesday. What have you thought about the addition of Tyson thus far?
Yeah, he's been awesome. First off, he's a great kid. He's smart. He's a new dad also, and he's balancing a lot of things in his life. But Tyson is a a really talented kid, and he played multiple positions at William and Mary. He played defense, kind of an outside linebacker, edge position, and then one of my best friends coaches down there, and they had to move him to running back mid-season. He had like 80 yards rushing with like 2 practices. So he's a good athlete, and that shows up. He's a natural pass rusher. He can run. He's physical. He cares about the game. He wants to learn more. He's a guy that tries to do extra film study, and I can tell because he hasn't played a lot of inside linebacker. And he's made big strides since he's got here just by putting the time in. And he's balancing, like I said, a lot of things in his personal life as well. And I'm proud of him. And he's going to be a guy that's going to help us on Saturdays this fall.
And just from the linebackers as a whole, are you liking the progress from the group that they're making? You know, they're kind of seeing how you want them to play. How are you liking the progress there?
Yeah, no, I am. It's a good group. It's a fun group. I've had a blast coaching them. You know, Baczynski and getting Tank back. Tank had he was sick for a good amount of the winter, and having Tank back now, and Casey Minor and Gavin Davis, all those guys, Contrell Ham, and they're all doing a really good job trying to learn. They take coaching. You know, I try to tell them you got to remember to have fun too while you're doing it, and because they all try to please and want to do everything right. And I'm like, just relax, play some football, man. We'll fix a lot of it on film. But they're starting to come along. You know, everything's new. How I'm coaching them is different than maybe they've gotten coached in the past. What we're doing on defense is maybe different than what they've done in the past. So, and there's some unique things to that. And it's a young group, so you got to teach them how to play fundamentally, teach them the game. And, you know, linebackers, there's a lot of game within the game of anticipation and teaching them what to look at. And it's a lot on your eyes. And, you know, you just got to keep working it, repping it. And that's why we want to keep things simple defensively so they can really be guys that can anticipate and play faster than they actually are. And
through all this, you're not just looking for who's going to be playing, but eventually who's going to be that top guy from a leadership standpoint. Excuse me. What are you looking for in a leader defensively?
Yeah, I think the first part is just a guy that does things right. He's consistent. He shows up every day. Obviously, it helps if he's a good player. They doesn't always have to be. If they're one of your better players, that always helps. And, you know, I don't know if we've necessarily found that yet. I think a lot of guys are starting to work towards that. And a lot of times the issue is guys don't realize that they have that capability, that people do look up to them and follow them. You know, so just giving guys the opportunity, and that's all a player deal, and giving guys the opportunity through practice when things go rough, like, you know, things don't go well, I may not say anything, and let's see who gathers the guys up, and, you know, and sometimes I'm on them, and who can go in there, and when coach is being super negative, who can come in there and be a positive force to the team. And, you know, some guys are starting to do that, and we're not fully there yet. That takes time.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm starting to see some guys step up, and a couple of them, and like, you know, through the winter, I would have said Marquise Monty, and he's battling a little hamstring deal, or Monet, sorry, Keese, but he's got a little bit of that. Bryson Oliver's got a little bit of that, and, you know, we're trying to find some more of them.
And Wes Brown Jr. and Zaire Barnes-Vaughn, 2 other portal additions, 2 big bodies up front who can fill the gaps, and it's kind of different. Wes Brown being a redshirt freshman, Zaire being a redshirt senior. What have you thought about those guys, you know, and what they can bring to the table for you defensively up front?
Yeah, hopefully not a whole bunch of people listen or watch Wes Brown play, because Wes Brown is a really good football player, and he's a really good kid. You know, and I've known of Wes for a long time. Coach Hill's known of Wes for a long time. We really wanted to get him when he got in the portal, and I'm excited we did. He's going to be a really good player for us, and he's a young guy that's going to become a leader, in my opinion, just by how he carries himself and how he plays. And then Big Z has done a really good job. He's gotten back in shape, and that was a battle for him. He's done a really good job getting his body right and being able to. And that you're starting to see him as a football player as he's gotten in shape, getting his feet back under him, and both of those kids are explosive and strong, and they're going to be tough to block.
And now coming up, you got a scrimmage on Saturday. Really good chance to get a look at both sides of the ball. What are you wanting to get out of the scrimmage, just looking at the team as a whole?
Yeah, you know, I think the main thing is improve defensively first, improve on our tackling, see guys tackle, see guys get people on the ground, especially in space, making people go backwards when we hit them. Can we stop the run? And then when we do get people in, you know, obvious pass situations, can we get after the quarterback and cover a little bit? And, you know, but the main thing is the physicality aspect of knocking things back and getting people on the ground when we tackle. And that's the number one thing from the defense. I think offensively is continue to run the ball, which I know Coach Mullen wants to do, and they've done a good job of that, is can they run the ball on us? Can we stop the run versus them? And then can they be explosive down the field when they need to be with some of the receivers we got that can take the top off, we feel like.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Jagger.
All right, there you have it from Glenville State head coach Jake Casteel. Stay with us here on the GSU Athletics YouTube page. As special teams coordinator and cornerbacks coach Az-Zahir Smith joins the show right after this message from our proud partner, United Bank. Welcome back to the Jake Casteel Show, presented by United Bank. Joining me now is the special teams coordinator and cornerbacks coach of the Pioneers, Az-Zahir Smith. Coach, welcome to the show, and appreciate you coming on today.
Appreciate you, Jagger, having me. I'm excited to be on.
All right, you're a defense assistant at WVU with Coach Casteel last year. He gets the job here. Kind of how did this all transpire for you to eventually land here at Glenville?
Yeah, so I think it was, pretty much the last week of the regular season, playing Texas Tech. And I think me and Jake we're either like chilling, eating somewhere, or just sitting in the office, just me and him somewhere. And then he just randomly says, "Hey Oz, I think I might be interested in the Glenville State head coaching job." I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, I think I might have a shot at it." I was like, "All right, that's cool." He was like, "If I get it, you think you might want to come?" I was like, "Yeah." At the time, I honestly did not think he would get that job though. And then kind of a couple of weeks later hit, I found out he was actually getting interviewed. The day he drove down here for the interview, he told me, "Hey, I'm driving down today. I'll let you know how it goes." A few days later, he texted me and somebody else is like, "Hey, yeah, I got the job. I'm gonna take it." I was like, "Oh shoot." Kind of like after he told me that, I was like, kind of like watching like Jake, right, the past like 9 months I was there. I got at W back in March, and kind of like just, one, watching him work, and two, just kind of watching the person, right, the man he is. I was like, yeah, this kind of like this is the type of guy I want to work for here. And at the time, I also kind of wanted to like go out and kind of coach myself as well, just being like a GA, like defensive assistant, like kind of the past 3-4 years. Like you kind of want a chance to kind of go improve yourself as well. So that was kind of like in the back of my mind. But, the biggest thing is, one, I believe in Jake. He's he's already a great head coach. But two, like everybody's about to like find out like how good of a head coach he is. So I kind of wanted to be part of that. So that's kind of like how everything transpired. That's essentially like why I decided to come here to Glenville.
And what are you thinking about the progression of your special teams so far? You're through 6 practices. What do you think of the progression there?
Yeah, I like where we're getting to. Not where I want to be at, definitely. We still got a lot of things to clean up, especially like fundamentals and technique-wise. But through the first 6 week of practice, like compared to where they were last spring as well, just watching their film from last season, last spring, I think we're light years ahead. There's still some things, especially on the punt unit, and really on the kick return unit as well, that I want to clean up technique-wise, and we just need more reps, more days to continue to clean it up. But I think we're at a good spot, but I'm not content where I'm at. We're like me, the rest of our coaches, Coach Moynihan, who's a big part of special teams as well. We're going to continue to push these guys to get where we want to be at, just because right now we're not where we want to be at. And
at the Division II level, you're not getting a lot of guys who are kicking the ball out of the back of the end zone. So when you get a returner or 2 returners, guys are going to have some chances to bring it back. So when you're looking at that spot, what are you looking for?
Yeah, first, you got a guy that that's able to judge the ball, just like the no matter what, like the first thing you got to do is you got to be able to secure the ball. Like if you don't have the ball, then the other team's going to have the ball and they got a chance to score. So a guy that is able to judge the ball, and two, right, guys that can either a really quick twitch in space, can make the first guy miss. Right, and thirdly, a guy that really has good judgment skills, like he knows, say the kick it at the back of the end zone, I know, I ain't gonna try to return this thing, say, I'm a punt returner, I see the ball kicked, I know it's got a good bit hang time, take a quick peek down, punt units, they coming down on me, I need to fair catch this thing. It's kind of like the third thing, just a guy that has a good judgment skills.
And now you had some guys from the 2025 roster stay on, and you brought around 5 or more newcomers there at the cornerback spot. How's that group progressing as a whole?
Yeah, I think that kind of similar to special teams. I think we are progressing, but again, still not where we need to be at. Just as a whole, and me included, we got a lot to improve on. Just technique wise, fundamental wise, just football intelligence wise. I got to keep coaching these guys up. Those guys got to keep working, watching film. We're in a good spot, but again, just like the special teams unit, we're not where we want to be at. We're not content, but we'll continue to get better. I believe in those guys.
And you get a lot of one-on-ones for guys to see who can make plays. And Coach Casteel mentioned last week, you guys just putting the ball down, letting guys play. What are you thinking about the group's ability to make plays thus far?
Yeah, I think I think at times when our technique and fundamentals are on point then our chances. But there are times, this spring, especially during one-on-ones, or during team or scaly, when we get those one-on-one opportunities where the technique and the fundamentals, they start to lack, and that's kind of where the explosives happen. So that's kind of something that we need to continue to get better at, just being more consistent, with our techniques and fundamentals, having our eyes in the right spot. But I think as a whole now, I like our ability, but again, just like everything else, I'm not where we want to be at, and just continue to get better.
And now when you're looking at the spring as a whole, what do you want to get out of it? just not from your cornerback group, but also special teams. Now you're 2 weeks in, you got about 2 to 3 weeks left. So what do you want to get out of spring ball?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, I want to be the most disciplined group out there, corners and special teams wise, So I don't want stupid penalties. Doing the little things align being in the right stance, knowing where to go, knowing where my eyes need to be at, communicating with everybody, and just be fundamentally and technique sound, So I'm using the right footwork, having my pad level having my hands in the right spot, just things like that, Just the little things, that you can rep each day, You can control those things, let everything else take care of itself.
Well, Coach, we appreciate your time today, and it was good talking to you.
I appreciate you, Jagger.
All right, that'll do it for this week's edition of the Jake Casteel Show, presented by United Bank. Thank you all for watching, and join us next Saturday for another episode here on the GSU Athletics YouTube page.